And once again, I'm going to tell you again the convictions of a great second chair leader. Living under godly authority is my covering. Honor is my code. Being a dream interpreter is my contribution. Being found faithful is my charge. That is the conviction of a great second chair leader. I know I said it earlier, but that was so important that I had to put it in there again because I am a second chair leader and that is my conviction. I never really saw myself as a leader, but the older I got and the more things I got involved in, I started seeing that I am a leader. But then I had the problem because when I wasn't the leader and I was the second leader, if you didn't like what I said, it was like, excuse me, then, I remember one time I got my family, we have a joke because I got fired from a ministry. I was in church and I was in charge of working with the new members of the church. And I had to do, teach the new members class. Well, I had a certain way I wanted to do it because no one really told me how they wanted me to do it. So I just came up with my own way. And the lead pastor was like, no, I don't want to do it that way. I'm like, well, you never said anything to me before, and everything's going fine. And I was like, he the one that got the problem, and I got fired. And it's a joke. My aunt says, how you going to get fired from a ministry in church? But I got fired. But you know what? It was a good lesson for me to learn because God forewarned me of my behavior, but I didn't listen. God forewarned me that I was about to get fired, which I did listen. And so I was ready for it. I wasn't upset because God let me know that I was not supporting my leader the way I should have, even if I didn't agree with him and his methods. I should have still supported my leader and I should have been in alignment with him, but I wasn't. So it's important that as a second chair leader that we learn our convictions and learn what that's all about, being a second chair. Um, how can you offer the best of who you are if you are not taking care of the best of who you are? We got to make sure we take care of ourselves. And if I'm not taking care of the best of me, how can I offer the best of me to my pastors or to my ministry leader if I'm not taking care of me? If you wouldn't follow you, why should anyone else? And that was a really good point. Think about yourself and think about who you are and think about what you do. Would you follow you? And if your answer is no, then why should you expect anybody else to follow you? That's a thought. Be aware of personal pitfalls in your life. And we all have them. And sometimes we are in denial of them. But we need to be aware of them and not ignore the pitfalls in our lives. No one is responsible for your personal health but you. You can't blame somebody else for the fact that you have gained weight or that you are diabetic or you have headaches all the time or you're stressed all the time. You're responsible for your health. If you know you need to lose weight, then you need to go do what you need to do to lose weight. If you're diabetic, and that is an issue I have with a friend of mine all the time, stop eating all the sweets. Eat healthier. Stop eating junk. Cut back on your carbs. Take care of yourself because no one is responsible for your health but you. Know yourself to grow yourself. If you know you are lacking in an area, then do something about it. Grow yourself. My sister-in-law, she teased me and she tells me that I am a what does she call me? I can't even think it right now, but it's because I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly doing things to better myself, to grow myself. And she teased me all the time because she said, you always doing some kind of school stuff. You always learning stuff. You always doing because I want to better who I am. I want to grow myself because I want God to be able to use me to be a blessing to somebody else. I want to grow the kingdom for God. And how do I grow the kingdom? By growing myself. I study God's word, not like I should, but I do, and I'm learning. I have learned so much about the Bible that I did not know before because I thought the Bible was boring. I didn't understand it. But man, I understand so much about God's word because I'm growing myself. I know that I was lacking in knowing God's word. I was lacking in being a leader. So I read God's word and studied God's word. I knew where my fault was. So I did something about it. So know yourself to grow yourself. um how do you recharge? I loved how he asked that, and I'm like, how do I recharge? He gave four different ways, and I'm sure these are probably not the only ways, but these are just the four that he brought out and the four that I liked. He said physical activity. That's important, because if you need to get out there, recharge, do some physical activity. Do you recharge by social time, which is 8 or more people around you, involved in your social activity? Do you recharge by personal time, which is 4 or less people? Or do you recharge by private time? And I call that your me time. I like to garden. So, see, I'm an end of life doula, and an end of life instructor, end of life care instructor. And so I deal with, and I have the honor to be with a lot of people that are passing. And I have the honor to teach people how to help those that are passing. And sometimes I get, when I have someone that dies, it really, and I've gotten close to them, it really affects me a lot. So I like to garden. I like to play in the dirt. So I go outside and I garden. I play in the dirt. I plant things. And the way, for me, that is my private time. I put on my gospel music, turn it up real loud. I go outside, play in the dirt, and I sing as loud as I can, sing to God, and just make myself feel better. And I feel so much better when I finish. And make sure that you, as a second chair, you need to make sure you recharge. So does your leader. You have to recharge, because if you don't, you can get burnt out. And that's the last thing that we as second chair need to have, is burnout. Even as a leader, you don't need burnout. So make sure you find a way to recharge. A gift will give you a chance to meet new people. Important people may become your friends. And that was found in Proverbs 18, verse 16. I really enjoyed, that was interesting to me when he said that. A gift will give you a chance to meet new people. Important people may become your friends. I love people. And I try to meet as many people as I can, and I really don't meet strangers. Because when I meet you, I get to talking to you. My mother laughs because she says, you and your dad are the only people I know that can go somewhere and not know anyone there, and y'all come home and y'all know all their life stories. I don't know how y'all do that. But I just like talking to people. I can tell you of two things that have happened to me twice. Somebody misdialed the number or mistext the number, and they text me, and I started talking to them. I don't know them. I have never met them, but now we talk to each other, and I encourage them. And so, um, giving the gift of your time and gift of yourself and gift of loving on others, you never know who you're going to meet. And sometimes you may end up meeting someone that's going to become your friends. So always remember, a gift will give you a chance to meet new people. Important people may become your friends. Be aware of your church's rhythms as well as your home. And I thought that was so awesome, because it made me think of a pastor friend of mine, how when he wants to go on a trip, he's going to go on a trip. And it didn't matter what the church was doing. It's like, and this is before he became a pastor, he was going to go on his trip. And I'm going to spend time with my wife. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. But we got to remember of the things that go on in our churches. So if you know that your pastor is calling to have a Easter celebration and he wants everyone there, then respect that. Don't schedule for you to go out of town. Yeah, it may be something that you do every day, but are you devoted to your church? Are you devoted to the vision that God has called for that church? It's okay for us to have time for ourselves and do things. It's important. My pastor, Pastor Landon, and his family, they go on trips all the time. He's always telling us, take a break, you know, go do something, get away. And it's okay to do that. But be aware of your church's rhythms, what your church does, the activities, the events that your church does, so that they don't butt heads. Because if you are second lead, second chair, and you need to be there, then make sure that when you take your vacation, it's not interfering in the time the church is doing a special event. Audit and evaluate your motives. What are your motives? What are your motives to what you are doing, to the things that you do? Are you there because you just want to be in the spotlight? Are you absent because I just don't feel like being bothered with them right now, so I'm going? I'm going to take my trip now because I don't want to be bothered with it. So make sure you evaluate your motives. What is your audit and evaluate your motives? What are the motives of what you're doing? And practical ways, he gave us practical ways to audit our motives. Take a prayer walk with God about you, not about your church, not about your pastor, not about somebody else, but take a walk and talk to God about you. And I like that he gave that example, because that's one of the things that I do too. When I am really having a tough time about something, I just go take a walk and I talk to God as if he was right there beside me, out loud. I don't talk in my head. I talk out loud to God. But the one thing I don't do that Pastor Brandon Stewart does, which I like, he said he does that every Friday. Every Friday, he takes his prayer walk with God about himself. And it made me think, I'm like, you know what, Sonia, do you do that regularly? No, you don't. And you need to. Because when I was doing it regularly, man, it felt so good. I would come back feeling so good, and I hear so much from God. So make sure you take your prayer walk or your prayer run or something that it's you and God. And then ask for feedback and watch how it lands. Ask people for feedback in your life and let's see how it's going to land. Ask God for feedback and see how it's going to land. We got to make sure we audit our motives, and you do find practical ways so that you can audit your motives. Um, so I'm almost finished. What size is your plate? And I was like, and if y'all can see on there, those are different plate sizes. I don't know if y'all could figure that out, but those are different plate sizes. Grow your capacity or get yourself a bigger plate or get some things off of your plate. So if you got a small plate and you might want to think about growing your plate, getting a bigger plate, and you got a whole bunch of stuff on there, you might want to grow your plate. Or if you got a big plate and it's like you got so much on there, you might need to take some things off. Okay? So think about what size is your plate. Grow your capacity or get some things off your plate. Grow your capacity may mean that you need to get a bigger plate. And you have a bigger plate and you might get some things off because you got too much going on. Another thing he said was relationships matter. Think about the relationships in your life, or those that you can have, but you don't take the time to do it. They matter. And this was something, I love this. There is more grind than glory. And that was, I can't, Mr. Matt Martin, I think it was, Pastor Matt Martin. That was something that he and his wife shared at the event. They said that there is more grind than glory. And I really like that. That really stuck out to me. So in conclusion, I want to just share a little bit about Pastor Brandon Stewart. And I want to encourage you to join the tribe. Leading Second, I found this on the Leading Second website, and I thought, you know what? I really want to help promote Leading Second because I really learned a lot from it. First, from what Pastor Landon taught me, and then actually being in the room with Pastor Brandon Stewart. And I really, because when Pastor Landon taught me, we watched videos of Pastor Brandon Stewart. And to actually be in the room, be in the room when it happened, and I got to meet Pastor Brandon Stewart, and it was awesome. And he says, with leading second is a culture that often celebrates individual achievement and being on top. Leading second exists to raise up the kind of leaders every pastor would like to have on their team. Leaders who are all in heart and soul for Jesus, his church, and their team's mission. And he also says leading second is a calling, leading second is an attitude of the heart, and leading second is a call to be uncommon. So I encourage you to join the tribe of leading second. If you want to know more about it, go to their website, leadingsecond.com. Once again, thank you, Pastor Stewart, for your obedience to God and starting Leading Second. And thank you for that awesome event that North Rock Church in San Antonio sponsored. All right, that's it. God bless you all.